I get it when you're scrolling through countless budget gaming rigs that promise 4K at 60 frames per second for under $800, you end up with a box that looks impressive on paper but spends half its life throttling because the cooling can't keep up, the power supply is marginal, or the RAM just isn't fast enough for today's titles. I've seen friends dump a few $100s on a pre-built, only to discover a bottleneck the minute they try to crank up the settings in Cyberpunk 2077 or Elden Ring. That kind of regret is what makes me pause before I click buy now. So, is the CyberPowerPC Gamer Xtreme VR a smarter, more reliable choice, or does it fall into the same trap? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the most common hesitation with any pre-built gaming PC is whether you're getting something that actually lasts beyond the first few games you play. With this model, you're looking at an Intel Core i5-14600KF, a 14-core chip that bridges the gap between entry-level and high-end CPUs. In everyday terms, that means you can stream, edit video, and jump into modern multiplayer shooters without watching your frame rates dip below 60 frames per second on a 1080p monitor. The RTX 4060 Ti on board brings the same Ampere architecture that powers the newer 40 series cards, giving you hardware-accelerated ray tracing and DLSS 3 support. For a gamer who wants to dip a toe into ray-traced visuals but doesn't need the raw horsepower of a 4080, this pairing feels balanced. What really matters, though, is how those specs translate when you actually sit down at your desk. The 1TB NVMe SSD is fast enough to shave seconds off load times, and with 16GB of DDR5 memory you won't see stutter when you have multiple tabs open, a voice chat app running, and a game loaded. In the real world, that combination means loading Fortnite or Valorant in under a second, and swapping between a game and a browser tab feels almost seamless. I tested the machine by running a 30-minute session of Assassin's Creed Valhalla while streaming on Twitch, and the system never warned me about thermal throttling. The built-in Wi-Fi is also a plus if you don't want to mess with Ethernet cables. It supports the newer 6 GHz band, giving you a stable connection in a typical apartment. Now, let's talk about what you might not notice right away. The chassis, while sleek, isn't the most spacious, and the airflow relies on a single 120mm front intake and a rear exhaust. Under heavy loads, think marathon gaming sessions or rendering a 4K video, the fans spin up aggressively, and you'll hear the coil whine from the GPU under load. It's not a deal breaker, but it does mean you'll notice the system getting louder than a typical office PC. Also, the power supply isn't user replaceable without opening the case, which could be an issue if you ever want to upgrade to a higher-tiered GPU later on. That's a hidden trade-off. The price point squeezes some future-proofing into a compact design, but you pay a bit in upgrade flexibility. Who should buy this machine? If you're a serious casual gamer, someone who spends 1,015 hours a week on titles like Call of Duty, Apex Legends, or Minecraft, and you also dabble in content creation, this rig hits a sweet spot. The 16GB DDR5 plus the RTX 4060 Ti makes it possible to edit footage in Adobe Premiere while the system stays responsive enough to jump into a game right after. It's also a solid pick for someone new to PC gaming who doesn't want to assemble a build from scratch. The Verity label isn't just marketing fluff. I tried it with an Oculus Quest 2, and the headset ran Half-Life Alyx at 90 frames per second without any stutter, confirming that the GPU and CPU together can handle the extra demands of VR. However, if you're aiming for ultra-high refresh 144Hz or 240Hz monitors, or you want to run every new AAA title at max settings in 1440p or 4K, you'll eventually feel the ceiling. The RTX 4060 Ti, while great for 1080p, struggles to keep above 60 frames per second in Cyberpunk 2077 with ray tracing turned on, even with DLSS. In that scenario, you might be better off waiting and saving for a system with an RTX 4070 Ti or even a desktop-class RTX 4080. Similarly, hardcore modders who want to overclock their GPU heavily or add multiple storage drives might find the limited internal space restrictive. Practically speaking, the strengths of this pre-built boil down to ease of use and the bundled support. CyberPowerPC includes a year of parts and labor warranty plus free lifetime tech support, which is more generous than many other pre-built manufacturers. That means if you run into a driver issue or need a BIOS update, you're not stuck troubleshooting on forums alone. The Windows 11 home installation is ready to go out of the box, and the system comes with a set of basic peripherals if you order the bundle, so you can plug it into a monitor, start gaming, and be done in minutes. On the flip side, the lack of a dedicated onboard graphics card upgrade path is a practical weakness. The